Welcome to Joy in the Journey. Welcome, Shortorah. I am so excited to have you on today.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes, this is our very first podcast for Joy in the Journey, and I'm so excited because it's very important and near and dear to our heart, as you know. I've come across so many parents that I just felt a push to get this podcast started because there's so many women and men that can really use some encouragement in finding out that their child, could potentially or definitely has Down syndrome. So I want to, allow you to welcome yourself. You're a mother of 5, right?
Yes.
So go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Shortorah Carter. I am a wife. I am a mother. I am a social worker, and I am the founder and president of Grateful Love.
Amen.
I work in my job as a director for SBRC services in the My Voice, My Choice program. So my job, I work with persons that have individual, intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Wow.
So I do this in my job as well.
Wow. So did you do it before or after you found out your son had Down syndrome?
I did it after. I was already a social worker, but that was not the field I planned on going into. I wanted to work with children who experience trauma.
Wow. And so your son having Down syndrome, did that kind of like inspire you to get into that field?
Definitely what inspired me to get into that field.
Awesome.
When I gave birth to him, I only had my bachelor's degree. So he pushed me to go ahead and get my master's degree. Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you were pregnant, did you find out like during your pregnancy that you were going to have a son with Down syndrome or potentially, or did you give birth and then you found out that your son had Down syndrome?
I gave birth and then I found out that he had Down syndrome, and I actually didn't find out that day. I found out the next day.
Oh,
so
wow.
Everyone else around me knew that my son had Down syndrome, but me.
Did you have any idea at all, or throughout the whole pregnancy, there was no like markings or anything at all?
No signs came up at all
Wow.
that he had Down syndrome. I found out when the pediatrician came to visit him the next day.
So when they came to visit you and, the moment you found out your son had Down syndrome, well, let me rewind a little bit. Did people voice it to you like, he looks different, he has Down syndrome, anything like that? Or they just kept shut and it was a complete shock when the doctor brought it to you?
It was a complete shock. When I gave birth to him, of course, I gave birth to him by C-section. So,
Okay.
They take you in the recovery room. So the whole time I held him in the recovery room, I didn't notice he had Down syndrome.
Wow.
But now that I know, the nurses, they would never leave me. So anytime I asked for anything, they would send someone else to go get it and bring it to me because they felt that I was going to notice that Nehemiah had Down syndrome and I was going to do something to him.
Oh, wow. So when the doctor, what exactly, like what words did they use? Do you remember like exactly what words were said when, you found out?
The first thing was said when the pediatrician walked in. He looked at the crease in his hand and then he noticed the slant eyes. But then he said, well, you have slant eyes and his father has slant eyes. So, I don't know. He was like, we'll just run some tests and then the test will confirm whether or not he has Down syndrome. So I didn't find out until, confirm it until his first doctor's appointment.
Oh, wow. What would you, how old is Nehemiah?
Nehemiah is 14.
14. So in raising him, what would you say is your biggest challenge or one of the biggest challenges in raising him?
One of the biggest challenges for me is him growing up and wanting to do some of the things that the other kids are doing. Like I notice now that since he's in high school, he's comparing like his art drawings, that kind of thing to the other students. Wow. He didn't want to participate in art class this year. Aww. And he stated because the other kids' drawings look better than his. But I had to talk with him and I had to talk with his teacher, and he just needs a little more encouragement. So Amen. Like his dots mentors, they're making sure that they let him know that his drawing looks good as well. And that's helping because now he's enjoying drawing. I had a difficult time when he didn't make the basketball team.
Aw.
Yeah, he tried out for basketball team his 8th grade year. And of course, he didn't make the basketball team because, they pick the kids that are doing well in that sport. So,
Right. Wow, wow, wow. So he's in high school.
yes.
Does he have friends that are supportive? Is he like in regular classes? Is he in like different classes? Like what kind of classes are he in at this stage in his life?
He's always been mainstream. So he has his special education classes as well as his mainstream classes.
Okay.
So art, gym, wood technologies, those type of classes are mainstream for him. And then he
Awesome.
also has his special education classes.
And you have four other kids. Where does Nehemiah fall in that line?
So Nehemiah is so let me explain. Before my husband and I got married, he had 2 children. I had 2 children, and we had one together. So
Okay.
I had Nehemiah's sister first. They're 11 and a half months apart.
Oh
So they're
wow.
Irish twins.
Oh
Yeah.
nice.
So Nehemiah is the second of my biological.
Okay, but he's the
Second
baby of all.
No, the
He's not
baby
the
of all is 7 years old, which is
okay.
what my husband and I have together.
Oh, okay, okay. Got you, got you, got you.
Yeah.
So how are your other kids like interacting with him, especially being that they didn't really like the girls didn't really grow up with him. So how are they interacting like with him?
They all kind of grew up together because when
Okay.
my husband met, they were all toddlers.
Okay.
So the summertime they would come and they all played the whole summer and stuff like that. But now for the past 4 years, they've been living here full time. So it's the norm. We don't treat him any different. He has
Yes.
chores just like the other kids have chores, responsibilities. He knows what he's not supposed to do and what he's supposed to do. We don't treat him any different.
Awesome. I love that. Is he very is he verbal?
So he is verbal.
Okay.
That was one of my prayers. Like I prayed to God for my child to be verbal because I
Yes.
wanted him to be able to express if someone was mistreating him.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
with you on that.
Mhm.
The next question is if you could do anything differently at all, what would you do in raising him and why?
If I could do anything differently, it probably would be at an early age to get him more involved in like play dates and that kind of thing with other children that have disabilities.
Okay.
I've mainstreamed him so much to the point that he feels like he can do anything to the point he wants to drive now.
I
He
love
asked me about driver's training.
it.
So yeah, like getting him more involved in other groups so that he can have other friends outside of you know, other friends that don't have that out. What am I trying to say? So they can have friends that have disabilities and they can, meet together and go places together and hang out and stuff like that. Because the older they get, like his sisters, they have their own sets of friends.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome though that, if they could also have friends that didn't have disabilities
Yeah.
because just because I feel like they would be able to learn and grow more, from them. It's not really pretty much segregated to the point where it's like, okay, all the special needs kids are here and the non-special needs kids are over there. I love when I see kids that do have special needs or differences and they're in a group of teenagers or kids that don't have special needs because I love teaching them that we're all different no matter what, whether you have special needs or not, we're literally all different. And that's a great thing and that's okay, but to just still be accepting of it.
Yeah,
So
because
that's awesome.
he's in the church choir. He ushers on the usher boards.
Oh,
He has friends outside, but it's like when it comes to like birthday parties and stuff like that, I want it to be where his friends are included too outside
yes.
of that, because that's what he's been mainstreamed all this time. So like he has a couple friends that he talks to in the classroom, but it's a lot of his friends don't have,
Yeah.
disabilities. So
That's awesome. I saw him dancing. I see he loves to
oh
dance.
yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love to see it. Um, have you ever or has he ever experienced getting bullied? Have you like let's say you're in a supermarket or out shopping, have you ever noticed anyone like staring a little bit too hard? If so, what was your reaction to any of the stares or even him getting bullied if that was, a part of his life?
He's only had one bullying incident, because usually everybody just looks out for Nehemiah. But
That's
he did
awesome.
have one bullying incident, and it actually was his knots mentor. It was someone that was
Mm.
supposed to look out for him at the school.
Wow. How
So the
old was he?
program, he was in the fourth grade.
Oh,
Yeah. So the knots program, they put the children that don't have disabilities, they pair them with someone that does have a disability. So that's like their mentor. Like if they need to get down to the office or if they need some encouragement in the classroom, then that's the person that they have with them throughout the day. But this one particular knots mentor was a bully. So she
mm.
actually pushed them down on the playground and kicked them.
Oh
And because
no.
so many people looked out for him, the word got back to his sister. Yeah,
Oh wow.
that's how
Wow.
I found out. But when I got home, because I hadn't made it home, to see how his day went. But he was able to voice to me exactly what she did.
Wow.
I went up to the school and of course had to talk with the principal and all of that.
Wow. See, that's my fear. My Christian, he's only, 5, almost 6. And
Okay.
one thing that the doctor asked me when I first gave birth to him was, what is your biggest fear in raising him? And my biggest fear was that he would get bullied, that people would not be nice to him, that they would not be friendly. Because, kids sometimes they're mean and the parents do not teach them and raise them right. And that was my biggest fear. It wasn't really anything in regards to raising him, because like you said, we raise him like we raise our own other children,
Right.
the regular way.
Mhm.
And so, but my biggest fear was, oh my God, are people going to look at him? Are they going to make fun of him? Are they going to laugh at him? Are they going to judge him? Like all these different things kept coming to my mind. And honestly, that was the only thing that I can really voice to the doctor at that time was, are people going to make fun of him? Thankfully, he's very, very well loved, but it could change when he gets older. I mean, I don't know, but that is one of my grandest fears for my baby, because they're our pride and joy.
Yes.
So I just hope that by the time he gets to that age and that stage in his life, that there are still all kind people around him. And not saying that it's going to be perfect, or whatever that case is,
And
but I'm expecting,
yeah,
at least one or two, but I hope not, because Mama Bear comes out.
yes, yes, and that's what
So
happened when I went to the school. But you have your kids that are cruel. I mean, things have came back to me where Nehemiah's in gym. Like I said, he has regular classes too.
mhm.
It came back like one of the children was making fun of the way he ran when he ran. But
Wow.
you have people that speak up. So,
Yes.
when you speak up, then that person looks crazy in the end. Yeah,
Right, right, right.
'cause it's not funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I'm building this ministry, this podcast, because um I've had like a couple women came to me and seen me post my story online and stuff like that on social media. And they had told me if I didn't watch your video, like I would have probably aborted my child that the doctors told me would potentially have Down syndrome. And one of the women, her child ended up not having Down syndrome. So thankfully she didn't abort him, because the doctors were telling her something different. But I was just really inspired ever since I heard that, to just kind of like get parents together and tell their Down syndrome stories, just to tell one another that our babies are not a mistake. Our babies were here for a purpose. They were born for a purpose. They are joy. They are literally light and joy to our life. And so, if I could ask you anything to say to a mom or a dad or a grandparent that just received like a diagnosis, or they're expecting their child to have Down syndrome, the doctors are asking them to abort, what would you say to inspire these parents not to abort their child, or give them up for adoption? Because for me, when I first had Christian, I felt like, am I even qualified for this? Why me? I don't think I can do this. Can I do this? We feel all these types of things. We're not qualified. We're not good enough. Why us? This, that, and the third. When really God chose us. He chose us to parent that child for a reason. And so if you could say anything to inspire a mother, a father, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, what would you say to them in, having your son with Down syndrome?
Um, for me, I had a very, very difficult time. And I think because I was so young, they hear that 35 and up is the age group. I was
Right.
26 years old when I had
Wow.
Nehemiah. So I remember sitting at the gas station and I was just crying. And my mom told me God gives special children to special people.
Amen.
And that helped, like, I don't know, like her words just, I started the car up and I was able to just go. Like,
Wow.
I believe that God gave him to me for a reason. There would
Mhm.
be no grateful love without Nehemiah. I
Right.
have parents inboxing me all the time. Like, the more I share my story on the Grateful Love website, the more people are inspired, they're
Yes.
encouraged, they're motivated to do great things. God
Mhm.
gave you that child for a reason. There's something God saw in you, and
Yes.
that child needs you. It's not going to be easy all the time. So I'm
Right.
not going to sugarcoat it and make it seem like everything is perfect. It's not going to
Yeah.
be easy all the time. You'll have good days and bad days, but pray and God will see you through.
Amen. 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 For me as well, I was 32 when I found out that I could potentially have a child with Down syndrome. His percentile was about 76%.
Okay.
Um, the doctors told us over and over and over, abort him. He's going to have brain issues. He'll have heart issues. He pretty much would be born a vegetable. There will be no point for him living. And I thank God that our faith and our prayers brought us through, that I would go in the doctor's office and I would literally kind of like shut them out to a certain extent. Like I would hear them, but I wouldn't hear them. And I'm just like, I hear you, but I'm not listening to what you're saying. And I would leave the visits crying because they were like practically begging me to abort my son. And I thank God that we didn't listen, because Christian doesn't have any heart issues. He doesn't have any brain issues. He, as you can see, is well functioning just like any other child. Yes, he has delays. Yes, it's hard. Yes, we go through so much with him in regards to, if he doesn't get his way, he's very stubborn, all of that. But he also brought so much joy and light to our family. I could not even imagine like following with what the doctors have told me.
Yes.
And so I am so grateful and so blessed that we decided to proceed with, having him and everything like that. But I want you to share a little bit about Grateful Love. I know that, it was inspired by, having your son, but tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, what makes you, keep going and things like that.
So Grateful Love is a nonprofit. The goal is to educate, advocate, individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. My plan with the nonprofit is to have teachers that can tutor. I want to have seminars. I host my Down syndrome walk here in Saginaw County every year. So this is my 11th year for that.
Wow.
Basically, getting the word out.
Yes.
People with disabilities, they deserve to be included in things.
Amen. So it's just not kids with Down syndrome.
No, it's kids with all
I
disabilities
love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. And where are you guys located?
in Saginaw, Michigan.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. All right.
So the plan is
Um,
to have it grow. I will have virtual parent support group meetings, so
I
I will
love that.
have those monthly as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think it's very timely and very needed and necessary. A lot of people feel like they don't have an outlet. They feel like they're carrying this burden alone. A lot of parents may feel like someone else may not understand because they don't have a child that has, special needs or disability or anything. So I think this is great that you're doing this, because they will feel like they have someone that
Right,
really understands and that hears their heart, even when the times get rough, because sometimes you're just like, I don't know what to do. Like, and all the answers are not out there. We literally have to just kind of go with the flow and learn as it comes to us. So I think it's great that you guys are doing that. I think it's amazing. I love the name. Um, and yeah, I think it's amazing. So please let the people know, your Instagram, your Facebook, where they can find you so they can find you.
On Facebook, we are under the Grateful Love Foundation. On Instagram, we can be found under the Grateful Love.
Awesome. any other words that you know want to leave the people with, or anything else?
Just don't get discouraged. I know a lot of parents get discouraged, they get down. Everybody doesn't have a support system. And
Right.
that is the purpose of Grateful Love, so that we can be a support to one another, so we can answer questions for one another, cry, laugh, learn,
Yes.
whatever, because everybody doesn't have that. Like, I have a
Yes.
good support system, but I've had people come to the walk that don't have that.
Right.
Everybody does not have that.
They don't. I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being my very first candidate on the Joy and the Journey podcast. I hope that everyone who listen, even if they do not have someone close to them with special needs, that they were encouraged, that they were inspired to even just give love to someone that they know that may have a child or a sibling or a niece or nephew or a grandchild that has special needs, just to hug them a little tighter, because you never ever know what they may be going through that they're not voicing to you. So thank you all for joining us. I truly appreciate every one of you, and I hope that you all were blessed from this podcast. Thank you so much.